right, we'll go ahead and get started. We've been joined by Billy Scott, crew chief, the number 45 Toyota, with driver Tyler Reddick. Billy, thanks so much for joining us here so quickly after practice. We will go ahead and open for questions for Billy. We'll work to get a microphone to as many of you as we can, and to kick us off, we'll go with Jenna Fryer.
Hi, Billy. Jenna Fryer with AP. I'm wondering, you guys get to spend a lot of time with Michael Jordan. He comes and hangs out with you guys as one of the guys. What sort of motivation does he bring to the team to inspire you guys, to instill that desire to win, and how badly does he want to win this weekend?
Well, first off, you're right. His presence in itself is very inspiring. Obviously, one of the most competitive people you'll ever meet in anything he does. So just having him there, certainly we all want to make him proud, but he is also an avid fan. He is learning everything he can about the sport, and he's very in tune with what's going on. I mean, he understands everything from the strategy stuff to, the setups and the, motivating people. And every now and then he'll speak up at the right time, and it certainly goes a long way in adding a little bit of extra motivation. But certainly he wants to win this, absolutely. I can't even imagine what it's like when he has been as successful as he has on the highest level of his sport for so long. I mean, the greatest, arguably, of all time. So just to be able to sort of see that enthusiasm back in him, and when he's been there for the couple wins that he's witnessed, in person, it's very rewarding. It's really cool to see that his genuine joy he gets for us. No, I think he trusts in the system, and he knows it'll be just fine.
All right, additional questions for Billy? Okay, we'll come up front to Bob, and then we'll get a microphone to Kelly, please.
Bob Parker's Fox Sports. So being as 21st or so on the speed chart, is that, I'll say it's part of the system, but was there something that you guys were looking at, and do you feel good about tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't think speed was probably quite as good as we would have liked. That's fair, but it's also hard to get a judge on your raw speed when you're in traffic. I think all of our runs, we did have a lot of guys right in front of us. So, that determined that a little bit, but there are things that we want to work on. There were some good changes we got to see, and we certainly have some great teammates that are going to give us a lot of information overnight to reference to.
All right, Kelly, and then Jordan, please. Go ahead, Kelly.
Kelly, CrandallRacer.com. Billy, yesterday Tyler spoke about how after you guys locked in at Homestead, there was a lot of focus on, after this spring race here, you guys have been very focused on what that tire was, so you could come back to it for this race and be prepared. Can you just explain what your prep work was like the last couple weeks after being locked in at Homestead in that regard?
Yeah, a lot of what we do is simulation work. That certainly gives the drivers a lot of comfort and gives us an opportunity to make changes before we get to the racetrack. So when you leave a race, you always want to try to get as good of correlation as you can in the sim world. So we did spend a lot of time after the spring race. Now, certainly the tire has changed, and there's been a few events that we've already run that at. So that does play into the mix. It's unfortunate to not have that information to fall back on fully, but it was nice to get locked in a week early and to be able to spend even more time, just preparing from the sim side, from the car build side, just from everybody's mental side of what to expect when we got here, that it's been a calm week leading up to it.
All right, Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic, kind of following up on that a little bit. Your first experience actually at the track as a crew chief as in the Championship 4. What is today like as you walk through the gate knowing what the stakes were?
Yeah, we've tried to make it as normal as possible. Certainly, like you said, there's a lot going on, a lot of media attention, a lot of pressure. So you're not going to get away from it completely. So it's just been humbling, but it's been satisfying to just know that we've put ourselves in this spot and just to be able to enjoy it. Certainly, we're going to do everything we can. We're going to be, as determined as everybody is to make good changes and be in contention. But the reality is, everybody deserves it. I think everybody's worked, really hard, had great years to get to this point. Have won in the last 3 races. 3 of them have. So, there's no guarantee. It's just this is the result that you can do everything right and one caution fall at the wrong time or one small mistake or something breaks. So just tried not to put too much emphasis on the pressure of the results and more on the pressure of our preparation coming into it. And I feel like everybody's done an awesome job on that side.
How's your nerves today?
Not bad.
All right, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tires.net. So I want to go back to Jordan real quick. Has he showed any interest in, like, trying out a jack or changing a tire, or, playing around with the pit crews or anything? Or have you put him through the paces yet?
No, he is not. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. I think he'd be best suited probably on the strategy side, on top of the box, because he's pretty knowledgeable about that side.
All right, Jenna, did you have a follow-up? Okay.
We had media day with the four yesterday, and of the four drivers, Tyler seemed the tensest with the shortest answers, and maybe all business is the approach he took. Are you sensing that from him?
A little bit at times. I think it's probably situationally dependent. Certainly he is focused. He certainly wants it as bad as anybody and has put a lot of effort into that. But he also has been his lighthearted self around us a lot too. So I think he's doing a good job of balancing that. And hopefully his nerves are in a good place when it's come Sunday.
All right, Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Billy, 2 of the last 4 races here have either gone to overtime or the last caution has come out just with a few laps to go. The other races in the last 4 have been like 30 laps to go. I know that if I tell you when the cautions are, you can make your strategy just as any of you guys could. But what does that do in sense of preparation, looking at the history? How does that factor in some of the things that you'll think about?
Yeah, I think we have to take it all into consideration, but you also don't want to get too focused on any one thing, because by the time you think what you expect to happen, it's going to be something else. So, much like we did at Homestead, I think you're just going to have to see where we are and be realistic about what our expectations are of winning when you get in that final stint or final stage, and then just play strategy accordingly.
Obviously, when you guys have had the time to have a full 50-minute practice session, I'm sure that it's been a lot of work that night going into the next day, just regardless whether it's a championship race or any race. Since it is a championship weekend, I guess the question is, how do you prevent yourself from working too much tonight and overthinking things or going down the rabbit hole too much? Or is there such a thing because you need to leave no stone left unturned going into Sunday?
Yeah, it's a little of both, I think. You certainly want to be diligent about it and just make sure you double-check everything, but also don't want to go so long that, like you said, you overthink it or you spend all night doing that instead of sleeping. So, I think we're going to approach it like we have these other extended practice weekends. The changes oftentimes with these cars, it's hard to do a whole lot time-wise. So we are still limited in what we can do. Even coming in tomorrow and getting ready in an hour and a half to be in tech line, there's only so much you can do. So we take that into consideration. And fortunately, again, we have good teammates to lean on. I certainly would have loved to have 4 Toyotas in the final round, but I think one benefit we've been able to take from it is that they are now able to help from that side of being diligent about the changes they've made. How closely their cars were to ours when we got here, just what takeaways we can make from their practice, and that will certainly help.
All right, we're going to take another additional follow-up here. We'll wrap with Bob's question. Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Parkers, Fox Sports. You spent time at Stewart Haas Racing. I was just curious, the pictures being taken today of crew guys and everything. Have you looked at those guys at all? Have you talked to any of them? Or have you tried to avoid even seeing it, knowing that with your task at hand?
Yeah, I've not talked to anybody this weekend or today, so I'm certainly trying to stay focused on what we've got. But, yeah, there's a lot of friends there, a lot of people I worked many years with, and it's sad to see that happen, to that level and with any team. So certainly feel for all of them, know what they're going through. Having been through that at Waltrip's a long time ago, that it's tough on them. It's again, you hate to see that for anybody, and I know what this weekend means to them. It's special and bittersweet too.
All right, Billy. Thank you so much. Best of luck this weekend. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue with our crew chief availability. We've now been joined by Rudy Fugle, crew chief for the number 24 Chevrolet, driven by William Byron. Rudy, thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and open for questions now for Rudy. If you have one, raise your hand. We will start here with Jenna Fryer.
Hi, Rudy. Jenna Fryer with the AP. Earlier, NASCAR was in here, Steve Phelps and Steve O'Donnell, and one of the first things Steve Phelps said was he sort of defended the 4 drivers who are in the championship finale as maybe fans don't think they're deserving. I'm wondering if you can make an argument for why William deserves his shot in this Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, we have 3 wins this year, which is as many as a lot of drivers. Only a couple have more than that. Scored more points than anybody else in the playoffs, and I feel like our team's peaking at the right time. So, yeah, I think we're competition and well deserving to go race for a championship tomorrow or Sunday.
How nerve-wracking was that 28 minutes for you on Martinsville?
Yeah, it's you're just sitting waiting for your fate to be determined, but it is what it is.
You can go ahead, Steph. You can send him up. Okay, we'll get a microphone to Kelly, please.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Rudy, when you're the last guy in, as you guys were on Sunday, I'm sure the prep for Phoenix, I mean, you didn't wait to prep for Phoenix, but how did things shift once it was official in terms of the extra attention or what you wanted to finalize with the prep, getting ready before the haulers left?
Yeah, I think we've been getting ready for Phoenix as a company probably for 3 months, and then this car has been prepped like we were going to make the championship for 6 weeks. So the difference is we just had everybody's attention this week, for a little bit more with the other 3 teams not making it. So it's had a little bit more attention Monday and Tuesday, and but yeah, I think you gotta prep early enough to like you're gonna make it, and I think we did a good job of that.
All right, we've also been joined by Paul Wolfe. We'll continue with questions for Rudy or Paul, and I believe Lee had a question up front. If I can get a microphone right here, please.
Lee Spencer, Sirius 6 NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Rudy, if this has been asked since I was out, but William's kind of coming in here with a chip on his shoulder, and he's like, nobody has taken us seriously, even though we're one of the top teams and have been one of the top teams. How do you see him fueling that to the title?
I don't know. I just think he's maturing and becoming a better leader and learning how to deal and look inward more than outward. So, I can come across a lot of different ways, but I think it's just growing up.
All right, I think we have a question in the back. Go ahead.
Another question for Rudy here. Noah Reed with KSAZ Fox 10. You've been working with William for several years now. This is your guys' second championship appearance, and you talked about kind of that growth that he's had. But I'm just curious where Byron was when he started with you to where he is now that you guys are in your second championship for.
Yeah, I think it's, just getting a lot of racing experience. When I first started in trucks with him, he'd only been racing for about 4 years. So, a lot of these guys have way more laps than that. And so he's finally getting laps and races, and, and then he's maturing in different ways like I was just talking about. So learning how to, grow up in the right ways and mature.
All right, can we get a microphone to Jordan, please? Thank you.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. This question's for Paul. There was some apparent radio chatter, maybe some frustration with the Chevrolets. Can you kind of explain that a little bit? What was that about? And did you think there was some games being played?
I don't know. I guess Joey maybe thought there was, just pulling out, when we're trying to make runs and, not giving us a clean racetrack when we're coming out on tires. So I wasn't, other than what he said, that's all I saw of it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll go to Jerry, and then a microphone to Dustin, please. Go ahead, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net. Paul, for you, you guys have been here before, and it's like last week when Hassler was sitting in the media center, he said they weren't ready. Really, they're about 15% ready to come. How much help did you guys have to cross over with Ryan's team, with the 12 team, from you guys?
Well, I think obviously that's a better question for Hassler, but obviously we work very closely together, the 12 and the 22. So hopefully some of the work we were able to put in, while he was still focusing on trying to get here, help those guys, and we continued that through practice today as we were trying to get reads on some things, and we'll go over everything this evening and hopefully tune up both of our cars for tomorrow's qualifying.
All right, we'll go to Dustin, and if I can get a microphone to Jenna, please.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports, to your left for both of you. I'm just curious. There's so many things that have to be done, and it's all about no stone unturned in everything. But I'm curious, as one aspect is for both of you guys, how much do you have to think about the other crew chiefs and the other coaches in essence? I think about football. The coaches are coaching against teams, but they're also the tendencies of the coaches. How much do you have to, how much does that play into what we'll see on Sunday is knowing your competitor?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, I think we try to learn or like the other team's tendencies on maybe some pick calls and some strategies and whatnot. But other than that, there's not a ton. It's really knowing what kind of cars they're going to have probably too. So what kind of what teams really are really good on a short run or really good at getting ahead on that. So those are probably the little bit of things you're prepping on and knowing what to expect. But as we see today, and every weekend you get surprised. So it's too much prep is not helpful, and its tendencies aren't it's not football's not stick a ball as much.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree for the most part. And the other part to that is, like, this race is different than any other race, throughout the season, the way you have to approach it. And, obviously we're not racing stages, stage points and those types of things. So, I mean, you're obviously always paying attention to what's going on around you. You have to. But I think you ultimately got to focus on your car and what your strengths are as a team. And really just, execute your weekend based off of that. I am. Yeah, like I said, it's getting the most we can out of our team, knowing what our strengths and weaknesses are throughout the weekend and making sure we're maximizing those. With that being said, sure, we look at everything. You have to understand what you're going up against, but ultimately, like I said, this race is pretty unique. So unless you've raced these guys in this situation before, I don't know that you can necessarily look at tendencies.
All right, we're going to go to Jenna, and then we'll wrap with John Newby. Go ahead, Jenna.
Jennifer, AP, Paul. Blaney spent a long time yesterday talking about how his whole career he's just wanted to make Roger Penske proud. I'm wondering if you've had those same sort of moments where that was something that was important to you. And number two, with the 2 sports car championships that he's just won this season, the opportunity to give him 3 Cup titles in a row. I mean, does that put any extra pressure on Team Penske as a whole?
Well, I don't know if it's any more pressure. It's always pressure, and he seems to always continue to do amazing things in motorsports. And it's like, how do you get to the next level, right? And we continue to try to do all we can, and he gives us the resources and the things we need, and then the expectation is to go out and win races and contend for championships. So I don't know that I ever feel like he puts any extra pressure on us. Aside from just what really the expectations are on any weekend, and he supports us, and fortunately we've been able to have a lot of success over the years, and obviously bringing home another championship this weekend would be really pretty special.
All right, John, go ahead.
John Newby, Savage Ventures. So, Paul, yesterday Joe was talking about how the night before every championship race, he gets away from the prep, the practice, the notes, and just takes his family down to pit road and just walks there, just kind of soaks up the moment. Obviously, it paid off well for him with the 2 wins. And I was curious, as someone who's won multiple championships yourself, is there any, traditions or anything you do to kind of just get away that night before?
No, I'm a pretty boring guy, as most of you know. I don't say a whole lot, don't do a whole lot, just kind of do my deal. So no, I can't say that I have any traditions. Just make sure I've gone over everything and make sure we do our best not to screw it up on Sunday.
All right, Paul, Rudy, thank you both for coming in. We appreciate it, and best of luck this weekend. All right, we're going to work to bring Jonathan Hassler up, crew chief for the number 12, driven by Ryan Blaney. Jonathan's going to make his way up. Thank you for being patient. All right, we're going to go ahead and take questions for Jonathan. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you, and we'll start with Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net. Jonathan, you may have heard me. I asked Paul a while ago. You told me last week you were only about 15% ready for this week. So how'd the transition from Martinsville to here pay off?
A lot of late nights, several in a row before we had to get the car loaded up. But yeah, we were able to kind of study what that group had done and what the rest of the shop had sort of put together as a baseline and some information, and put our own spin on it and unload with some good speed here today.
All right, we have a question in the back.
Cameron Caraway for Sports for Youth Media. Mr. John D. I know that there's definitely a lot of pressure going into this weekend, but is there any way you just manage that, like meditation or mindfulness that you do?
I think as the leader of the team, my advice I would say to our whole crew to manage the pressure of an event like this is to, it's different than a lot of weeks, but do everything you can to do what you've done to get to this point. I think if you do that, the results kind of take care of itself.
All right, we're going to go to Jeff Gluck.
When you unload with that kind of speed and see your name, your number pop up on the speed charts, is that sense more of like relief or expectation that you figured that was going to happen?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, I felt pretty strongly coming this week that we'd be able to have some speed, but you certainly never know for sure in this sport, or the times that you do are pretty few and far between. So, a little bit of relief. It's where we expected to be, but like I said, you never really know until that number goes on the board.
All right, get a microphone up to Holly, please, up front.
Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. That kind of was along the lines of my question, but how important is it to come out and be fastest in practice and do what you did, kind of setting the tone for the weekend?
Yeah, I think you really have to approach. We don't get the opportunity to practice like this very often. We don't get 3 sets of tires very often to go and try to learn some things about our cars. So you have to. It's nice to have the speed. It's even nicer to be able to go and try a couple different things to maybe find a little bit more speed. And then you just really got to be smart about, how you take the information you learned tonight and apply to tomorrow or to Sunday and tomorrow, because the conditions are going to be quite a bit different. Yeah, I think it certainly kind of invigorates the whole team, to see our number there at the top of the board. And, I think everybody on this team is confident that we could go and contend for another championship, but it certainly gives extra pep, a little bit of extra pep in everybody's step.
All right, we're going to go to Reed right here, please, up front. Okay.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire. Blaney, I think, went from 23rd to 1st. Was that a mock qualifying run, or was that simply a change that you made between the 2 runs?
Yeah, that was just a race run. We were the first car out on track today, and a lot of weeks, and probably the other format, that's good. With only 20 cars on the track a given week, the first guy on track can get some clean air. But today, as we came out, we ran right into the back of a lot of traffic. So our fire off on that first run was definitely hurt. We spent a lot of that first run in traffic, and then kind of got thrown off with that caution there. So yeah, it was nice to be able to put another set of tires, go out and get some clean air, and put up a good lap.
All right, go ahead.
Elliot Stern, Sports Talk 805. Regarding strategy, every other week you're out there racing to win the race. This week you're racing to beat 3 other guys with all this other traffic in your way. How does that affect your strategy?
Yeah, I think, in this race, like you said, it's different for the Championship 4. You really need to focus on, how you're running, relative to those guys. We're not concerned about stage points, so we can take, make some choices along the way that maybe, lose track position for a stage in, but set us up, in a better position to be ahead of those guys at the end of the race. So you certainly just need to focus on that group. Like you saw last year, you don't have to win the race. You just have to be the first of the championship four.
All right, go ahead in the back.
Noah Reed, KSAZ Fox 10. When talking with both Blaney and Logano, there's been a lot of talk about how both Penske cars have good information flow back and forth. And both drivers, both teams want to win this third championship for Roger equally as bad. I'm just curious, from your perspective, at what point during the weekend does that information flow stop and you have to focus on the 12 team?
Honestly, I think the information will be wide open, until the checker flag flies. I think, we're going to do what we can do to help each other along the way, and we're going to do what we can for a Penske car to have the best chance of winning this championship.
All right, we're going to go to John Newby. Go ahead, John.
John Newby, Savage Ventures. Pretty basic question. Does it feel different being here as the defending champion as opposed to being there that first time trying to win the championship?
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit different. I know for me personally, I'm probably a little bit more acclimated with, all the nuances and all the extra things that you have to do this week. So yeah, a little bit different. But honestly, I think, once you get in the championship four in general, you're able to kind of just let loose and focus on what you need to do. Honestly, it's probably a little bit less pressure than some of the elimination races. You just put your best foot forward and hope for the best.
All right, if I can get a microphone to Davey and then one up front to Dustin Long, please.
Hey, Jonathan. Davey Siegel with Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. So from a momentum standpoint, you guys have that. Odds-wise, you guys are the favorite. Fastest in 1, 5, 10, 15 lap average. All signs point to you guys being the favorites for Sunday. Do you feel that way?
It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I think, we're going to go back and we're going to study what we did in practice, how our car was, some of the other changes that our teammates made, try to make ourselves a little bit better. I think we try to focus certainly on our team and much of Team Penske of just continuing to try to be better, and I don't think this is a different scenario. So, yeah, just try to be better and put our best foot forward and let everything else work itself out.
All right, Dustin, go ahead.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. We often hear about control of a race, especially when you've got a speed, which you guys have shown today. I think back to last year's race, and I know you started further back. You didn't get out in front of all the other title contenders for the most part until about 200 laps in. So for this race, can you give me a sense of where you need to be in terms of control and how this race compares to other races in the sense of having control, or if you lose it, the challenge of getting it back because of the length and other parameters?
Yeah, I think control in the race is certainly probably it's not a focus of ours at all. I think I think you look at Martinsville last week, the championship race last year. I think those races look very similar to us. We just need to focus on being ahead at the end. And I think sometimes if you're in control or you feel like you're in control, you can probably be baited into being a little bit conservative and maybe falling behind. So. We'd like to, lead every lap, but we just got to focus on being as strong as we can at the end of the race.
All right, we're going to go to Lee and then Stephen. Get a microphone to Stephen right there. Thank you. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. How did the energy change in the shop this week after Blaney's, comeback win? Because his energy, his confidence level yesterday compared to where he was going into Martinsville was like night and day.
Yeah, I think the energy, honestly, in the shop has been pretty strong throughout the all the playoffs. Certainly when we came back from Homestead and had a shot, and the guys everybody in the shop knowing how good Ryan runs at Martinsville, there wasn't a single person in that shop that had given up on us. Despite the push to start working ahead on the 22 car, they continued to focus on us. They focused on, alongside of the 22, they focused on giving us the best car they could for Martinsville and continued to focus on bringing us a car that was going to come to Phoenix and race for a championship.
All right, Stephen, go ahead.
Steven Stump, frontstretch.com. Jonathan, with Ryan sweeping basically the short run, the long run speeds, was there anything you guys felt like could be better still? And how do you feel kind of exiting this practice session? How do you feel kind of compared to this practice session a year ago in terms of where you were?
Yeah, I think pretty similar. Honestly, I'd say we might have been a little bit better in practice last year. If you looked at the stats, certainly close. But again, like I said, we try to use that practice as an organization to just learn about our cars and try to get a direction, from each of each other on certain changes that'll make us better for the race. So the speed is nice, but learning how to be better on Sunday is kind of our focus.
All right, Jonathan, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
All right, there's the checkered flag. Great job, driver.